Hello, my name is Tim Morrow, one of the owners of the Tax Doctor, and on behalf of our family-owned business, we wanted to thank you for trusting us to get your tax return filing taken care of this year. You know, my brothers and I have been at this for the better part of about 28 years now, and I think I speak for the majority of the entire population when I say that filing taxes is almost synonymous to getting a root canal. So we've put in a lot of work, a lot of effort to make this process as hassle-free and painless as possible. And the video you're about to watch right now is how you go about getting us your tax documents via drop-off. And what we mean by drop-off is physically bringing us the materials to our office down on 3512 Ingersoll here in Des Moines. So I'm going to walk through that process with you. I try to be very descriptive, but as brief as possible. If you're thinking about uploading, the other opportunity to get your documents to us is to upload the documents via a secure website. If that scares you or you're trepidatious about that, watch the video. It's easier than you think. If you can use a smartphone and the camera capabilities on a smartphone, you'd be able to upload your tax documents. So probably worth the watch. You may still say, that's not really something I want to do, but maybe it is, and it'll save you a trip down here. But for the time being, we're going to go through the process of how to drop off your tax materials. So when you come down here to our office, again, 3512 Ingersoll, you're going to drive up into our parking lot, and you're going to see this black metal mailbox. It's on a stand. It's got a cover, and inside of it are packets, 10 by 13 envelopes is what they are. And there's some instructions on the outside of the envelope. And then there's also some forms on the inside of the envelope, which you're going to want to pull out and fill out to include with all of your tax documents, which we'll walk through very briefly here shortly. But that's the first thing to look for. This is obviously available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're always going to have this full of packets. And then once you fill out the paperwork and put your documents in there, you'll be able to drop those packets off in our secure drop box, which is right beside our door, which looks something like this. And right next to our entry door on the west side of our building is this after hours drop box. It's a big metal flap is what it is. When you place your envelope inside of there, it drops into a locked metal box on the inside of our building. Therefore, nobody can get at it. Nobody can stick their hands down in there. It's very, very secure. My brothers and myself are the only ones that have the keys to this on the inside. We're the ones that take everybody's information out and get it into circulation so we can start processing it. So that is what you'll look for when you actually drop the envelope off. When you're going to pick up the envelopes, you're going to look for this black metal stand. Now, once you grab out a packet, again, available to you 24/7, you can either go back to your car, fill out the information. You can take it home. Maybe you want to swing by on your way home from work, grab a packet, take it home, get organized, and then just bring it back at your convenience. You don't have to drop this off during office hours. It could be on a Saturday, Sunday, before hours, after hours, doesn't matter. We'll get it handled any which way to make it as convenient for you as possible. So this is what the outside of the packet looks like. Need your name and date, of course. We would like you to select one of these two check boxes. Either this is all of your tax documents included, or maybe you dropped off all of your documents on Monday, but then Thursday rolls around and you realize you forgot something. So you come back down to our office to add another document to a previously dropped off documents. We'd have you select that. That just alerts us to marry or combine what you're dropping off to what you've already dropped off. Other than that, the packet is very self-explanatory. One thing you do need to know specifically for new clients that come to us is anything that you put in this packet will be digitally scanned, which you will have access to, but then we shred the originals. So anything in here is not going to be returned to you unless it's just printed out from the digital scan that we have for you. The reason for that is because the IRS and the state don't need originals. There's no such thing as originals anymore. Copies and digital scans are the way to go. We're going to be able to keep those for many, many years, a lot longer than you would be able to keep originals, let's put it that way. But if you're hell-bent on wanting originals back, then provide us with copies so that you keep the originals. What I don't want you to do is to put a sticky note in there saying, would you please return my originals? Because that's not going to happen. We disclose this not only on the front of this packet, but also on the client information sheet. So just be sure that you know that. And then just walk through steps 1, steps 2, and steps 3, which is pretty easy. I'll just quick hitter. The 3 forms, which I'll go through here in a second, are included in there that you'll want to fill out. I'll specifically go through those here in just a moment. Step 2, put all of your documents in there. Take them all out of their envelopes, if you would. Just helps the process on our end. If you stick all of your materials in their original envelopes, it just takes us more time to get them out and can slow your process down. The other thing that you don't want to include in here are receipts. If you are a business, got some rental property, maybe you have a farm, anything to do with expenses or receipts, you keep the receipts in case you're audited. Provide us just with totals of those categories of receipts. So you can use your own spreadsheet. Maybe you got your own Excel spreadsheet. You could use legal pad and paper, or you could download one of our specific small business, rental property, or farm forms that we have on our website and utilize that tool, and then just fill in the summary there and provide the summary in there. We just don't want this thing filled with a bucket full of receipts inside of here. Okay. And then lastly, as I said, you're going to seal the envelope up, and you're going to go over and you're going to place it inside of this Dropbox, and it'll slide down in there. And then that's how we start the process. We process those every morning. We'll start working on them. We will then contact you with questions or clarifications that we have. If it all goes smoothly, we either have you electronically sign, which is a very simple process. Most of our returning clients did that last year. Or if you're not comfortable electronically signing, then you have to make another trip down here, and we schedule you an appointment on a Tuesday or a Thursday, and we have you physically sign the documents as well. But that's how we get the process started. It's very clean, very easy. And we think very simple for folks that want to bring their documents down here. Now, let's specifically go through those forms real quick. They are important. There is nothing in here that's fluff. And what I mean to say by that is fill it out. Take the time to fill it out. You know, the more information we have, the more complete tax return and best tax return we can get for you. But we have to rely on the information from you. So you're going to have a client information sheet. And this is very similar to last year. It's 1 page. If you're a new client to us, you got to fill the whole thing out because we don't have any of your information. But if you're returning, you can update information here, or you can, if everything's the same, you can just click the button and just say returning client, same as last year. Just put your name in here, and then we're good to go. If we're not going to update cell phones or email addresses, and do pay attention to cell phone and email because we communicate that way. And if we don't have your most updated information, it'll make communication a little more difficult. You do have to fill out the filing status that you think you should be. It's very likely that once we start reviewing these, if we notice that there's a better filing status for your situation, we will let you know that. You don't really get to choose your filing status. Your situation chooses it for you. But we know all the rules, obviously, and can make sure that you're getting the best filing status that you should have. Keep scrolling down. You got to put kids' information in here. If it's the same as last year, if you were a returning client, you'll just select that. Maybe you got to update it, or maybe you don't have any children. So again, new clients have to put in all the information about the kids. Yes, no questions, pretty self-explanatory there. Tax refund, you want it deposited into the same account as you had last year. Obviously, that's for returning clients. If you're a new client, we're going to need your bank information right here. And if you're a returning client, but you change banks, we need to update it. Just put your information right in there. Otherwise, you can select that box and we'll mail you, or the IRS will mail you the tax return. Client care package, you do have to choose one of these. You either opt into it or you opt out of it. There is a cost to this. If you don't fill in anything, we are going to assume you opted out. In other words, we're not going to charge you the extra money for it, but then you also got to understand that you don't have these services. What this basically is, you pay an extra $99 at the time of the tax return. So for that tax year, should you get any IRS letters, we will respond to them on your behalf and fully interject ourselves in between you and the IRS or you and the state. We will also provide up to 10 hours of audit, of our time in an audit. So incredibly valuable, especially those with small businesses, rentals, farms. But for those who just want to have somebody have their back in case something arises, that's something that you definitely want to consider. It's not for everybody, and that is okay. You would just opt out. Just know that we will still do those services for you. We just will charge at the time. And of course, they do cost more. So, we start at $250 an hour. That's what our audit rate goes at, which is actually fairly cheap, believe it or not. So you can opt out of it, but if you do need us to cover you, we just charge by the hour at that point. So as long as you know the difference, you just choose according to your own situation. Okay. Tax service payment, you're either going to pay by debit, credit, or check. That can be handled electronically, or if you're going to pay by check, we would obviously need the check when you sign your documents down here at the office. Or take fee from my refund. This sounds great, except for the bank that moves the money around on the IRS's behalf to you, tax on an additional $89. Yep, that's $89 on top of, it's not my money, it's an outside service that the IRS contracts with. They have 5 different banks. We work with one of them, and they move the money around. So not a very inexpensive way of going about it, but if you just don't have the funds at the time and you need your tax return done, sometimes for some folks, that's the only way that they can do it. This is only available for returning clients, and it's not available after April 1st. So just keep that in mind. Then we just need you to sign and date. So on the back of this sheet also is a checklist. It's just something to jog your memory on things that you possibly could have that could affect your tax return. So look at it, turn this over, take a peek at it, see if it rings a bell that you didn't know that maybe you could deduct or something of that nature. But it's a good, gets the wheels moving a little bit. So you can kind of jog your memory on this past year and what kind of went on. So that's on the back of this. I'm not going to go through that, but it's pretty self-explanatory. This is a new form this year that's in the packet, and we have to confirm the amount that you received from your third stimulus check, if you got one. This is kind of a 2-part form, because the other part of it, which will apply to some people, but not everybody, is this advanced child tax credit. So let's talk about the third stimulus. Essentially, the IRS is supposed to send out a form telling you how much your third stimulus was for your entire family. I don't trust the IRS to send it out, so we provided their website right here that you can go on and look that up. It'll provide, you have to set up an account or log in with the IRS, which is actually a good thing anyway to do, because you can always get lots of information specific to you right through there. So their website actually has gotten really good. And then you can go on there and figure out what your third stimulus was, how much it was. So you're either going to check a box that says I have the form, or I don't have the form, but here's the amount, because you either remember or you looked it up, or you did not receive it because some people had too much income and they didn't receive the third stimulus check. So just know that you got to select something. If you write something in here like, I don't know, or I think it's this amount, we're gonna utilize whatever you put on here. If you don't fill anything out, we're gonna assume you didn't get it. It's the only thing we can do, unfortunately. So just know it's a good idea to do a little homework on this, because if this does get messed up and we report the wrong information, 2 things. 1, your tax return is going to be delayed by the IRS. They're going to take an extra couple of months to ferret out. Now, they will fix everything on the back end, but it's also likely we're going to tell you a refund amount or an amount owed that's going to be wrong. And it's going to be wrong because this didn't calculate correctly. So this is a big piece of the puzzle this year. So important to get right. So hopefully that makes sense. We do need that filled out. And then on that same sheet of paper is this advanced child tax credit. If you don't have any kids, you're just going to go right down here and say, this does not apply to me. You can see that box right there. Or maybe you do have dependents, but your income was too high, or you opted out of the additional advanced child tax credit. So you'd select that. Otherwise, you're either going to get a form, or here's their website for the child tax credit, the advanced. You could look up and see how much was advanced to you. I've done this on my own. I've looked it up. It's pretty simple to do, and the information is right there. So if you don't get the letter, just go right onto the website and look it up and put the information right inside of this area here. You do have to sign it. Again, I just a little disclosure here at the bottom, just basically saying that if you don't fill it out, or if you're not confident in the numbers, we're going to use whatever you put on here, and that's what we're rolling with. So just understand that can slow up your tax return. It's all going to get ironed out in the back end. It's just going to take longer. And you may not get the number that you thought you were going to get. And then the rest of it is our engagement letter and our consent form. These are essentially, our engagement letter is our responsibilities to you and your responsibilities to us. So you got to look through that. You got to sign it at the bottom. And then the consent form is the same. It's required that I put this in front of you. The IRS requires that we do this. This is not a form that we created. So it's got to be in front of you. Signatures are at the bottom. So Once all that's filled out, you're going to put it right inside of that packet, and it's going to and it's going to go inside of this box once you're done, because you're going to walk it up to the door and you're going to slide it in there. Now, if we're here during office hours, or you show up during office hours, we are going to have the doors open. You can come in and just hand your packet to somebody if you wish. It's not necessary. It's not a time, however, you're not going to be able to meet with a preparer at that time and ask questions or have tax planning at that time. This is just to get the information going. We do all of that stuff on the back end after we know what the information is internally. One thing I'll also add in closing of this is that if you have a special circumstance or something that's off the wall or just not normal, type it up or write it out on a piece of paper saying, this is what my situation is this year. I'm not quite sure how to handle it. Call me or shoot me an email on what I should do. Just gives us a heads up, so we will have the answer for you once we communicate with you. So there's the drop-off process. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to call us. We'll be happy to help you through it, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Once we get it, we'll process it. We'll ask you questions. If all's good, we'll either have you electronically sign, which is really slick, even more simple than what it was last year. If you just don't want to do the electronic signature, you'll have to schedule a time to come back down here to the office and do this actual physical signature. So hopefully all is well with you on your end, and we look forward to taking care of you. Thanks.